Okay, so today I thought I would rank all the books I've read in June and July. And I might say July in the title because it's a little snappier. But in reality, it's June and July. And I've low-key read a lot these past few months. I think I've just like been in bed a lot and I've just like had a lot of time to read, which isn't like always the case. So yeah. And I think ranking like again is like a silly and like stupid way to like do this, but I feel like it can be more satisfying to see books ranked than just like listed. But I don't know. Maybe listing is like the right way to do it. But I'll just like it'll be like a very loose ranking, you know? It's like how I think like the star ratings on Goodreads are kind of like nonsense because it's like I feel like I enjoy most of the books I read and then it feels hard to like quantify if I like it as like a 8 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10 or a 6 out of 10. So sometimes I just won't star books either because it's just like too much to worry about. Let the ranking commence. Okay, this one might ruffle some feathers, but in last place, I'm gonna put All Fours by Miranda July. And I wanted to like this book, mainly I think because I read No One Belongs Here More Than You, which is Miranda July's short story collection, and I really enjoyed it. And I know that All Fours has gotten a lot of buzz in the past year and a half, or whenever it was released, and I was excited to check it out, and I did, but it didn't click with me. And like I want to preface that by saying like I know that like I am not this book's like target audience because I've read a lot about like how it's like a very validating or life-changing or you know that kind of book for perimenopausal or menopausal or postmenopausal women, and that's great. Like I'm really happy that is there for them. So maybe it's like not resonating for me in that sense, but I think even if you take the identity part out of it, which I guess can be hard to do when it's like so intrinsic in the writing, but I just thought it was like a not good feeling book. Like I felt like yucky and kind of gross after I read it, and not because of the like menopausal stuff, but because of like I don't know, I just feel like the descriptions of the way things happened and like the whole I don't want to spoil all of it, but like the whole plot line that the narrator took, it wasn't a good feeling that I was like left with. And I don't think I was left with like a good feeling either at the end of Miranda July's other short story collection, but I don't know. This one just like it was like a worse feeling. Like I felt yucky. I don't know. That maybe that's like insensitive and I apologize. And there were things I liked about it. I think Miranda July is like a really good like sentence constructor and I think that shown in the book. I just think like as a whole, it didn't totally work for me. But I still am glad I read it. So that's gonna be last place. And then next I'm gonna put Antarctica by Claire Keegan. And I didn't finish this book. I read like 3/4 of it and then I had to return it back to the library because I checked it out from the library and it was getting close to the due date and I wouldn't want to pay a fine. And this was a good book. I'm kind of partial, I think, to short story collections. I know that's not everyone's cup of tea, but I enjoy them. And this is kind of one where like everyone is sad and nothing good is happening. And it's a bit like depressing to read all of them in one go. So I think it's best to like split up. But I think she has a good way of creating these very like sparse atmospheres where the things that are happening feel like weightier because that's like the only thing that's being focused on. They're like a little bit like not disturbing. Like I wasn't like thrashing in my sleep over these stories, but they weren't like the most pleasant, good feeling stories. Like kind of what I was saying about the Miranda July book, where like I didn't have like a good feeling. That's kind of how I felt with Antarctica too. But I liked it. I'm looking at my computer at Goodreads to see the specific stories because I want to remember which ones I liked, and I don't have it because I gave it back to the library. Okay, great. I can't see any. But I remember I really liked the first one about, well, I don't want to spoil it. I remember I really liked the first one. I'll leave it there. And then I also really liked, I think Love in the Tall Grass was one of them. I think that's what it's called, and I enjoyed that one as well. Okay, then I'm gonna put Anagrams by Lori Moore. And I read 3 Lori Moore books in these past 2 months, and I don't know why. I mean, she's my favorite author, which I feel like I've mentioned in every video now. But I don't have that many books by her left, maybe because I'm reading like 3 of them at a time. But they just make me feel good. Kind of the opposite about what I was saying about the other ones. But Anagrams is the book I read most recently. I finished it yesterday. and it was my least favorite out of the Lori Moore books I read this month. Maybe because it's a really like odd form for a novel. It basically follows like three main characters, and it's a novel, but it's split up into like 5 short stories, and in each one, like the roles and what each character does and their relationships and their jobs shift, kind of like an anagram. And the last one takes up the majority of the book. It's like half of the book is the last one versus the first 4 are split in the first half. And it's really kind of odd and strange, and it's a very sad book. There's this one like twist at the end that is like shocking and very, very depressing. And I feel like it's kind of a book about how alone people are, which is kind of sad, but in all of the stories, like people are kind of unhappy and I don't know, just not having a good time. Maybe that's like the theme of the books I read this month, is that no one is happy ever and no one will be happy ever. But it was a bit of a not depressing read because I think like in contrast to Miranda July, I feel like, I mean, and they're very different authors and books, but they were both kind of like sad feeling. But I think Lori Moore is more masterful with making each like sentence enjoyable and like clever so that as a whole, it doesn't feel like a depressing novel, if that makes sense. And I did enjoy it, but out of all the Lori Moore books I've read, it might be last, but it was still good, which I feel like is a testament to her writing ability. So next, I would put Bark by Lori Moore, which I actually have. And that was the second Lori Moore book I read this month. And this is a short story collection, which is kind of what she's more famous for, I'd say. And this was very good. I actually started it like a year ago. I just read the first story and then I just never finished it. So I decided to hunker down and finish this one. And this, I think, is a little bit uneven, as most short story collections are, but it has some of her best work. The first story, Debarking, I think is one of her best stories. It's about a man who's like getting into a relationship with a single mom, but the single mom has like a really kind of obsessive connection with her son and like needs to take him everywhere. And it's very funny and very clever and it's really good. And this is not my favorite short story collection of hers, but it's really good. So I don't know if I'd say required reading, but I would say optional reading. I don't think that's a thing people say. Okay, and then I read What Belongs to You by Garth Greenwell. I don't know why, I just like felt like Garth Greenwell would be an author that I liked, so I bought like 3 of his books on Thrift Books, and I was right. I did really like this book. I have it on my bookshelf, so I'm gonna get it, and then I'll be able to look through. Okay, I got it. What did I like about this book? This is the issue with not taking notes when you read, because I remember the experience of really liking this book and reading it fast, but I don't remember why or specifics, which I feel like is a bit of an issue. Maybe I have early onset Alzheimer's, but I think like the sparseness, like I was talking about with Claire Keegan, like the sparseness of the atmosphere, I think Garth Greenwell utilizes that really well in this book too. It's like very solely focused on the 2 main characters, and again, it's not like a good feeling book. It's very sad. At least I found it very sad. But I think the descriptions of like, I don't know, love and obsession and sex, I think he's a really good writer of sex, are really compelling. And I really enjoyed this book. Next, I'm gonna put the last Lori Moore book I read this month, which is A Gate at the Stairs. And this is a novel, so more unusual maybe for her. And this book was insane. I didn't rank it any star ranking because like I didn't know what to do with it, but I really enjoyed reading it. And like I was saying, like Lori Moore is a really good like sentence constructor. I think it's possible she's like slightly better at constructing sentences than she is like full novels, but that, I mean, that has the effect of like when you're reading it, it doesn't feel like a slog because the individual like gears are so smooth. That was not a great analogy, but it's a really odd book about a college student who takes the job of like a babysitter for a couple that's about to adopt a baby. And it's very strange because you think it's going in like one direction, and then there's like this kind of like violent, strange, unexpected like plot twist midway through, and then there's another like very strange and unexpected plot twist at the very end, and it kind of ends and you think it will be over, like the main plot ends, and then there's another like 50 pages, and I think those last 50 pages are where it really shines because something like traumatic happens, and the description of like grief in that time is really poignant and like kind of devastating. But I think that was the most like human part of the novel. But it's very entertaining, very weird, very strange. So I would definitely recommend it if you're into that kind of thing, which I think I am. Then another short story collection, Because They Wanted To by Mary Gateskill. I had a friend who told me I would like Mary Gateskill for a while, and she recommended the collection Bad Behavior. And it was $8 at the used bookstore. And for some reason I was like, this is too rich for my blood. So I didn't buy it. But then I liked the cover of this one a lot, so I bought it on Thrift Books for like, I don't know, $6. And I'm glad because I really liked it. And I feel like it's kind of a strange collection because a lot of the stories I think share very similar plots, sort of, and environments. It's pretty much all about men and women being in love, and women and women being in love too sometimes, except for, I have it here. I can look at it. Except for like 1 or 2 stories maybe. Yeah, like 2 of them are not about that. Oh, maybe 3. This one, The Girl on the Plane, I think is one of the best short stories I have read ever. It's really unsettling, and I think Mary Gaitskill's thing from this book and from what I've like read online is like psychosexual dread. So there's a lot of like kind of uncomfortableness about sex and consent and like violence, and I mean, I think you can kind of get the sense from the title, which is called Because They Wanted To, which I feel like alludes to something about the collection. And it's a bit of an uncomfortable read, but I think that the environment that Gateskill paints is somehow comforting, even though the themes are not. Like, I don't know. I really enjoyed reading it, which is what I'm saying about all of these books. I need to have more thoughtful critiques, but this was a good book. And I ordered Bad Behavior because I like this and I'm excited to read it. So the best book I read this month was Small Rain by Garth Greenwell. And I kind of knew I would like this one. Well, I guess I didn't know. I guess you never know. But because I really liked What Belongs to You, I had a hunch that I would like this one. And it follows the same character, but it's not like a sequel. Like, you don't need to have read the first one to understand the second one. And this is about the narrator getting a really severe and like unknown medical problem, and he needs to go to the hospital, and it's set during the pandemic. And I think it's triggering for a lot of people for that reason. Not that that's funny, like that's very like legit. I personally did not find it triggering for that reason, but I think it paints a very compelling picture about sickness and like life in the hospital, which is not a very comfortable thing to write about. And it wasn't a comfortable book. Like, yeah, that's definitely the through line of these past 2 months, is like none of these books, except for like maybe some of the Lori Moore ones, were pleasant read in that sense that it was like a comfort read, I guess. But it's very like, I don't know, it's so set in time because it takes place during the pandemic that it's so like not relatable, because I didn't have this happen to me, but it's so like look at-able. Like, it's very clear what is happening, and I think because the pandemic was so recent, like you're able to envision what is happening in a really clear way. And because that time has been like kind of preserved strangely for a lot of people, it kind of like pushes you right back into it. And yeah, it's very compelling about what it's like to be like have a chronic, or not chronic because it's not chronic, but have like an unknown illness and have the hospital try and figure it out, and like the struggle of the healthcare system. And there's a lot of really lovely moments in it, even though it sounds like a pretty not lovely book. But Garth Greenwell's writing is very kind of wordy and poetic and beautiful. And that was my favorite book that I read this month. And then a little bonus, I read half of Interpreter of Maladies by Jhumpa Lahiri, and I did really enjoy it. I just felt like it was one of those short story collections where it's like better enjoyed one short story at a time than all of them at once. So I took a pause on that. And then I'm currently reading, I'm like 5 pages into The Bee Sting by like Paul something. Wait, I'm gonna look. By Paul Murray. And I found it in a book box and it just looked pretty. I liked the cover and I thought I had heard of it, but I actually don't think I had. But then I got home and I looked it up and then I had heard of it. And it looks good. I'm about 5 pages in, so what can you really tell from a book 5 pages in? Although maybe some would say a lot, but I don't know. It seems like it'll be fine. So I will update on that. But that is what I have read this month. And yeah.